Hello, fifth graders. Welcome to Chapter 8, Lesson 18 in math this week. Now, you noticed last week we were on Lesson 8. We jumped ahead about 10 lessons. We figured this would be an important topic for you to know, especially before middle school next year, so we are jumping ahead a little bit. And today you will be on page 397 in your math activity book. I hope you are all following along in that and not just pretending like you are. Remember, we are watching you right now through your camera. I'm watching you. Yes, even you, Olivia and Bella. I'm watching both of you, especially today. Being you told me to make this one extra hard. Olivia and Bella both said, hey, Mr. Tweeten, make this one really hard because I love math and I want to do as much as we can. So this one goes out to Olivia and Bella. Okay, let's get started. We are going to be doing area of a triangle for this one. So if you'll take a look on here, it says area of triangle. It says, what is the area of the rectangle shown? Well, it wants me to find the area of a triangle that shows you a right triangle they want us to find, but here is a rectangle. So what's the area of the rectangle? Well, that's pretty easy. We have an 8 right there, and we have a 4 right there. Now remember, that's basically like saying that I have 8 squares along the bottom, right? Now I have 4 squares along the sides, so you take 8 times 4, we'd get 32. So this would be 32. We're dealing with centimeters, so 32 centimeters, but they are 32 centimeters squared. They are basically made up of a square. So that's the area of the rectangle. But now it says, draw a diagonal line in the rectangle and make 2 triangles. Okay, so I'm going to take my ruler here. Let us draw a diagonal line to make 2 triangles. So there it is right there. So there it is. You'll see one triangle right here, and you'll see one triangle right there. Okay, so there's that. Now it says, what is the area of each triangle? Well, let's think about it. If the whole thing had 32, what would this one have in it? If I cut it right down the middle there, basically it's like saying I cut it in half, which means half of them have to be here and half of them have to be there. So how many would be each triangle? 16. We still have 16 centimeters squared. Why do you think so? Because I say it's half. It's half of it. It's half the shape. So that's to be half of the overall number of square centimeters we are using. Okay, on the bottom of this page now, a triangle with a right angle, which is the square corner. It shows you that this is a right angle. It means it's 90 degrees. It is called a right triangle. The area of any right triangle is half the area of a rectangle with the same base and height. Now this kind of goes back to in my class, we would sometimes draw these shapes right there. Okay? So I would ask you, what kind of shape is that? What kind of shape is that? Okay, I hear some people saying triangle. I hear somebody saying it's a ramp for jumping a bike. No, it's not a shape though. Yeah, you could, I suppose, jump a bike off it, but no. A lot of people say triangle, maybe right triangle. What if I told you that's not what I call it? I call it half a squares. I started calling these half a squares a long time ago because every triangle is half of a square base or half of a rectangle. So you call them half a squares. That's all it is. They're saying it's the area of a triangle is half the area of a rectangle. So if you know the base and you know the height, and these two have to be at a right angle, which they are, it's just going to be half of that. So 5 times 2 is 10. So we take half of 10. What would you get? 5. 5 centimeters squared. Now to the next one. Well, if that square is 8 by 8, well, the square would be equal to 64. Well, we know this to be half of that because it's a half a square. So that would be 32 meters squared. How about the last one? It's a 16 by 14. Well, I don't know what that is, but I can do the math over here. 16 times 14, 4 times 6, 24, 4, 5, 6. Move over, move down. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. Add it up. 4, 2, 224. So the whole thing is 224. But I just want the shaded one, which is half of it, half of that. So half of 224 would be 112. So it's 112 inches squared. Because every triangle is half a square when you find area. Okay, next page. Now it says find the area of each triangle. Mark the right angle with a small box. Okay, we can do that. I see this triangle. Where would the right angle be? Well, that's not a 90-degree angle. That's not a 90-degree angle, but this is. So we are going to put a little box in the corner. If you see what I did right there, I'd like you to do that in your workbook as well. Make sure you have that. It's a right angle. It's a right angle. It means it's 90 degrees. Now that it's a right angle, we just do the same formula we did before. It's half of the base times the height. So here's my base. Here's my height. And 12 times 12 equals 144. But it's not a square. It's half a square. So half of 144. How do you find half? Well, you could take 144 and divide by 2 if you didn't know. 2 goes into 14 7 times. That's 14. Bring down your 4. 2 goes into 4 2 times. So the answer would be 72 inches squared. How about the next one? Where should I put the right angle? That little box, where should I put that? Yes, Bella, up in the top left corner over here. Here it is. There's my little box. And now it doesn't matter which one you do first. We just know we need to take 14 times 7 because those are the two that make up that right angle. 14 times 7, 14 times 7 right there. 7 times 4, 28. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2, 98. Now, this is not a rectangle, though. The whole thing would have been 98, but we want half of it. So we're going to take our 98, and we're going to divide by 2. 2 goes into 9 4 times. That's 8. Subtract, I get a 1. Bring down that 8 to join the party, and 2 goes into 18 9 times. So the area of my triangle, or half a square, is 49 feet squared. I'll circle those answers so they're easier to see for you. Next one, I have a 15 by 10, or sorry, 15 by 20. Now, but if I took 15 times 20, that would be for a rectangle. I have a hint for you. You could also, our formula, where it's the area of a triangle is equal to 1/2 of the base times the height. Well, if you notice that order does not matter when you multiply, if you're multiplying, it doesn't matter which 2 you multiply first. What if I took half of that one? What would half of 20 give you? Yes, 10. Now take 15 times 10. That's 150. Would that be the same answer? Let's find out. What is 20 times 15? 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 2, 10. Move over, move down, put a 0. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 2 is 2. Add them up, I get 300. So 300 would be the whole thing, but I want half of it. What's half of 300? Yes, 150, which is what we got before. So you found out that you could take half of one of those numbers and then multiply, and you get the same exact answer. It'll make your math easier. So for this one, it would be 150 centimeters squared. There's my answer right there. Don't mind that one. And the last one on this page, I don't mind my drawing. I am getting kind of scribblesome here. Let B equal the length of the base. Okay, that's the length of the base. And H equal the height. There's my height. I can tell because it's also a right angle right there. There's my box. Write a formula for finding the area of any right triangle. I kind of already just did that. Whoop, that there. So the area A is equal to 1/2 times the base times the height. That's my formula. A equals 1/2 base times height. Simple as that. Okay, next page. Okay, number 10. Find the area of each rectangle. So first, rectangle, make sure you read directions. Then find the area of each shaded triangle. So I have an 18 by 15 rectangle. I have an 18 by 15 rectangle. Okay. So to find the area, I would take 18 times 15. I'll do that math up on top so you can see it up here. I'm going to do 18 times 15. 5 times 8, 40. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9. Done with that one. Move over, move down, put a 0. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 1 is 1. Add them up. 0, 17, 270. My rectangle is 270 centimeters squared. Remember, area always has a 2 up there, talking about 2 dimensions. Oh, I'm getting pen over my fingers. But the triangle, or I don't call it a triangle. What do I call it? Yes, excellent, Caleb. It is a half a square. We need to take half of that number. And to take half of any number, all you have to do is divide it by 2. So I could take 270 and divide it by 2. 2 goes into 1 time, so I subtract 2 to 0. Bring down my 7. How many times does 2 go into 7? 3 times. 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract that, I get a 1. Bring down that 1. 2 goes into 10 5 times. So that means that the area of the rectangle, or sorry, the area of the triangle, or half a square, is 135 centimeters squared. Okay, next one. I have a 22 by 44 rectangle. So area of the rectangle, I'm going to take 44 times 22. I'll do that right up here again. So right there, do 44 times 22. Should be pretty easy math. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 4 is 8. Move over, move down to 0. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 4 is 8. Put up 8, 16, 9. Okay, 968. And that whole entire shape right there. Okay, 968 feet squared. But now I want to find the triangle, which we know we could also call a half a square. Let's take half of that number. We could take 968, and I could divide it by 2. Or what else could you do? Sure, you could take half of that number and make that a 22 and take 22 times 22. What else could you do? Yeah, I could take half of that number and make that 11 and take 11 times 44. Any one of those would work just fine. I can prove that to you when we're done with this. 2 times 9, or 2 goes into 9. 4 times, that's 8. I get a 1 left. Bring down that 6. How many times does 2 go into 16? Well, 8 times. That is exactly 16. I get a 0. Bring down my 8. 2 goes into 8 4 times. So I know the area of my triangle is 484. This is measured in feet, so feet squared. Now, just to prove it, let's try this a couple different ways. What if I took half of that number and I took 22 times that 22? 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Move over, move down. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. There's a 4. There's an 8. There's a 4. Hey, same thing I got. Well, what if I took half of that number instead? What if I took 44 times 11? 1 times 1 is 4. 1 times 4 is 4. 0. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 4 is 4. Add up. 4, 8, 4. What do you know? These are all the same answer. So there are many different ways you can do it. I don't care if you multiply first and divide by 2. I don't care if you take half of one of the numbers and multiply, or half the other number and multiply, whichever way that you would like to see it. Sometimes you'll see a really easy number to multiply. That would make it pretty easy to do. Okay, how about this one? So the bottom here is 25, and this is 10. What is that one? Yeah, that one also has to be 25 there. So the area of the rectangle is just 25 times 10, which was 250. Pretty easy math there. But being it's a half a square or a triangle, I need half of that number. And what's half of 250? Right, 125. There, you could actually do that one probably in your head. And the one on the bottom down here. Lottie divided her rectangle flower garden into 2 sections for pink and yellow roses. Oh, that'll be pretty. What is the area of each section? Well, the whole area is 40 by 25. But they want to know each section. So you could take 40 times 25 and get your answer, or you could take half of one of those numbers. Which one do you think you'd like to take half of? Me too. Nice job, Gage. I would also take half of 40 and I would get 20. And let's take 25 times 20. 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. Move over, move down, put 0. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So that means that this section is 500, and this section would be 500. Simple as that. Okay, so what is the area of each section? They are each 500, talking in feet, so feet squared. Okay, this one will be saved for the next page. Moving on. And we are at the last page already. It's going to go pretty quick today. Number 14. This went with the previous question. The banner for the Mountaineers Club is shown. Here's the banner. What area of the banner is colored green? Oh, there's the green one. But notice, this whole rectangle is 30 by 15. So what if I covered up that? That green would be how much of that square? Yes, it'd be half of it. So there's a couple ways you could do it. I could say if the whole thing is 30, we'll be right in the middle, halfway. Right, this is 15. It has a 15 long, it has a 15 high. So the area of the square would be 15 times 15. So we can multiply that, and 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 more is 7, 0. 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 1 is 1. Add them up, 225. But that's for the whole entire square. I want just one of them. So what am I going to do with that number? Yes, half of that number. So let's take our 225 and let's divide that by 2 because I want half of it. 2 goes into 2 once. Subtract 2 to 0, bring down the 2. 2 goes into 2 one time. Subtract the 2 to 0. Bring down that 5. How many 2's go into 5? Well, 2 times. That's only 4. I have 1 left over, but there's no more numbers. What can I do? Remember back to dividing. Yes, we add a decimal, add the 0, put the decimal up on top. And now bring down that 0. So now I have 10 down at the bottom. 2 goes into 10 5 times. So the area of the green is 112.5, measuring in inches, so inches squared. What about the blue? There's a blue there, and there's a blue there. Well, if each triangle is 112.5, what would be 2 of the triangles? Yeah, we already did the math. It's right there. That would be 2 of them. So the area of the blue is 225 inches squared. And number 15, write a formula for finding the area of the shaded right triangle with sides of S. Well, normally we took the formula right down here. Area is 1/2 base times height. But if your base is an S and your height is an S, that would mean that your area is equal to 1/2 times S times S, which is the same as A equaling 1/2 times S squared. That's basically how you could find the area of a right triangle inside of a square. Explain why the formula of area is 1/2 base times height can be used to find the area of any right triangle. Because I'm just going to say it's half of a square. Half of a square. So then every square has 2 equal triangles. Okay, I appreciate you coming today. Hopefully you were able to follow through with that. If you have any questions or comments on this, comment to Olivia and Bella. They said they would love to hear from you. You are welcome, Olivia and Bella. Thank you for tuning in today. We will see you next time on the next lesson. Thanks for coming.